Hi.
Hi, are you sure this course is just for 2499?
Yes, and you know this is the only course with this expertise across the world.
No way!
Yes way. Don't delay. Enroll now.
Geeks learning together.
Hi, and welcome to Geeks for Geeks. So, let me introduce you to the person. But before that, let me tell you a bit about myself. So, hi, and welcome everyone. So, I'm Siddharth Hazra, and here we are on the winter interview preparation. And this video is all about the DSA roadmap to success for young coders who are newbie to this. So, let's not waste any more time and let me introduce you to Nishant Chahar. So, hi Nishant, how are you?
Hi Siddharth, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, so this person needs no introduction, but still I would introduce him. So, Nishant is currently an SD at Microsoft. He graduated from Netaji Subhash Institute of Technology and he also owns two YouTube channels. The first one named as Nishant Chahar and the next one as Code Intent. So Code Intent is a YouTube channel which we should talk about a bit. So basically this channel I have been following it for a couple of months and this channel holds a unique concept that it would explain you the DSA concept in just 10 minutes. And the recursion one, which is my personal favorite, is for me, you should definitely give it a try. So let me just tell you what this winter interview preparation is all about. Just a sec. Okay, so this is the page that you need to enroll, and this course is just for 99 only. So the overview of the course would be that you would be done with the do's and don'ts and all the techniques that are required. The first day, which was yesterday, the first session is public, and the next session is private, that is on Zoom class. Okay, so the previous today's session, the first one is this one, which is public, and the next one would be this. Now, what are the features that you would be getting when you enroll in this? So when you enroll in this, you would be getting the access to these all session. And the very next thing is that the last session would be an personal interaction session with Sandeep sir himself, and there would also be a Q&A. So if you want to personally ask your questions, you can definitely give this a try. So now, I think Nishant, we are good to go.
Yes, we are good to go.
Okay, so let's start with the very first, like the person who doesn't know any, like he just aims to become a good coder, and he is confused about which language to choose. Like we are told by many seniors, like Java is used by the industry, so you should learn Java. C++ is holds the feature of STL, so you should use C++. You need to write less in Python, so use Python. So what do you think that what should be the optimal way to choose the perfect language?
Honestly, language doesn't matter. It's more about the concepts. It's more about uh, the logic which you learn. It's not about the language. You can learn any language in a few days. When you join a company, it's very much possible that whatever you have learned till now is irrelevant in that company. In context of the language. For example, I joined Microsoft and I had to learn Swift from scratch. And Swift I had never like worked on in 4 years of my college life. So because I had worked on multiple languages, C++, Python, Java, so it was quite easy for me to get onboarded to Swift. So it's more about learning the concepts, the basics, like what is if else, what are loops, how do you write functions, how do you write all these things, and uske baad it's just about learning the syntax. So if you feel you can, you should start learning with C++. If you are good with pointers, if you are able to understand pointers, then you're good to go, you can continue with C++. But if you are stuck somewhere in pointers and you are not able to understand what is happening, and you don't find a path forward from there, you can go with Java, because Java doesn't have pointers. It's object oriented language, and there is no concept of pointers there, so it will be easier for you to learn Java. So any
Okay.
language is good to start, and yeah, after that you can choose.
But still, what would be your preference for a newbie? Like, you would recommend your junior or your little brother to start from which language? The personal favorite
I,
one.
I would suggest C++, because C++ is something which people have like learn in their school sometimes. So it is easier to get onboarded, and that is the parent of most of the languages. So if you are able to understand C++, it is very easy to switch from one language to another.
Okay. 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 So my preference would be C++ too. Okay, but I started from Java because I completed my 10th from in 2017, and in that I was already well acquainted with the Java language. So I started with Java, then I shifted to C++ because of the huge support, and the tutorials were also given in C++. So I had that. Okay, so the next one. Suppose he has now the language. He has learned the basic syntax, like how to print, what are the offline setups and all. Okay, so what would be your offline preference? Like, go with an online editor, go with Sublime Text, go with Atom, go with VS Code. What would be that?
So, being a Microsoft employee, I would choose VS Code. And I've been working on with VS Code since college, and I really love it, the whole experience, because you can get add a number of extensions. The community is very strong with VS Code, and I would go with that. So apart from that, I used a lot of online IDEs as well. Like I used GFG IDE a lot. I used LeetCode's IDE a lot. And if you have to code offline, then VS Code. Otherwise, any platform which you are learning DSA from, and I would recommend GFG IDE for sure.
Okay, so we had the pinch of like extension thing in VS Code. So can we have your personal favorites over the extension on VS Code? Like,
So
what would
there
be your?
are, yeah, there are a few extensions like Code Prettier, which helps you
Yeah.
make the code pretty, and you don't have to think about things like spaces, tabs, and things like that. And mostly that is the only one I use. I don't use a number of extensions. And if you are following the OpenAI thing right now, there's one more new extension that has come up, is the black box uh,
Okay.
extension. You can just type whatever code you want, and that will give you the code for that. So I've tried it out,
Okay.
it's pretty good. You should also
Yeah.
like play around with it.
Yeah, so last night only I was trying to have the binary lifting one, and I thought that why to go to my repository where I have already coded and kept it. So I thought that why not ask the OpenAI, and he gave me the code with so much great, like the complexity was to its best. Okay, so my personal favorites would be like if you are into code forces or at coder or other competitive programming site, you can also give it a try to competitive programming helper. Like, you can just download the extension or your browser also unlock, so that it would sync you the test cases, and it would also help you with the new things and all. Okay, so the next thing, like suppose he has the offline setup now. Okay, offline or online, whatever he chooses. The next thing is that should he complete the basic DSA and then jump to solving problems, or he should just now learn at the moment, or he should first solve and learn simultaneously? What do you
So
recommend?
what I recommend is that you should learn basics first, like arrays, strings, and linked list is the basic level which you should have understanding about, and after that you can start practicing problems. And when you get something new, when you are like when you are solving a arrays question and you find two pointer approach, or you find about hash maps or hashing or anything like that, and then you can start learning about all these topics. And when you are comfortable with the basic data structures, then you can jump on to stacks, queues. After that you can jump on to trees, and as like in this way you can gradually progress.
Yeah. So I too had that, like, I too made this mistake when I first stepped into programming. Like, I had seen the lectures, I tried many resources, like books on videos and many stuff. Like, one day in the first day itself, I was learning about arrays in three on a span of 3 or 4 days. I was learning about trees, then I was learning about dynamic programming, but I was not even able to solve the problem of cadence algorithm. So then I realized that you should first learn the basic ones, and then you can learn on the go, like whatever the needs are, you can just learn it, then implement it. Then the learning curve would be absolutely great. What do you think?
Right, exactly.
Okay, so what is your, like, which data structure was your personal favorite? Like, it was a simple one, but the questions were absolutely very good, like
I
on your
really
journey.
love solving tree problems, like because it
Okay.
has a bit of graphs, it has a bit of recursion, backtracking, and you get a feel of all the things when you are solving trees questions. And you have to imagine कि it ये left side जाएगा फिर क्या होगा, right side जाएगा फिर क्या होगा, and मतलब you get to know about a bit about graphs. You learn DFS BFS even before actually learning DFS BFS, and yeah.
Okay. So when we are talking about trees or graphs, okay. So what do you think? What is the importance of visualization? Like whenever you are learning, like the given sample test case, very few times the sample test cases do have a visualization of the trees or the graph. So what do you recommend? Like, should we draw it on a pen and paper, or should we visualize in our mind, or we should use an online visualizer? What do you recommend?
I too like I always used to draw it on my a sheet of paper and then visualize it, like how the whole algorithm is working or how I have to solve the particular question, and it helps you out if you draw a test case with a medium sized test case and you try to dry run it yourself. Ki, how do you want to solve this particular problem? Then it helps you. So I would recommend that only.
Okay. So what I do is, like, still I receive a question. So my personal favorite is the CS Academy one, where there's a graph visualizer, and you can directly copy paste that given test case, and then you can just move forward from that point of. Okay. So it is very great. Like, sometimes the code forces questions to have a long tree in the sample test case itself. So drawing that grid tree in a contest would be a little bit hectic. Okay, so suppose the person has learned the basic data structures and algorithms, and he has the offline setup. Now we are done till this point. Now, suppose, irrespective, a general idea how to select your first few 50 problems. Like, after 50 problems, they get the idea of an online compiler, like how the online compiler works, what is all about 10 to the power 8 operation. But the first few 50 problems, how they would select that first few 50 problems, what do you recommend?
So, if you go to Geeks for Geeks, you'll have most asked interview questions there, and you can start with the easy ones from there, because
So how
these
to
are the questions which will
know, like,
you can
how to
just
know
sort
which
it
are
out
the
with
easy ones?
you can just sort them out. There are three categories: easy, medium, and hard. You can sort it out according to the difficulty level, and just try the easy ones from the topics which you have learned. If you have learned arrays and strings, so start practicing the array string ones from there, and then like move forward.
Yeah, so that was great. So now suppose he is solving the problem. Now, at what point of time, like the first occurrence, I would tell you the scenario of mine. Like, when I first started solving the first 10 few problems, my whole agenda was just to solve that problem. The approach was not very important to me. Like, I never tried that efficient, like I was not well acquainted with the efficient thing. So At what point of time we should learn about time complexity? At what point of time we should learn about the importance of algorithms? Like the first few instances, we won't get to know like why cadence algorithm is really required. Why can't we move forward with nested loops? So what do you think on this? Like when should we learn?
So honestly, when you start printing out the patterns, that is the time when you are current just learning about if else loops and for loop, if else statements and for loops, like how you have to structure the code. And after that, when you start learning about the data structures, that is the perfect time when you should learn about time complexity as well, because you know about for loops, so you can understand the time complexity for iterative solutions easily. And when once you start learning about recursion and backtracking, then you can jump on to learning about the time complexity of recursive solutions. So as you have already learned about if else and for loops, it will be easier for you to understand the iterative time complexity as you have started solving the arrays questions or string questions. And as you move forward, you learn about recursion, you learn about backtracking, you should learn about the time complexity for the recursive solutions as well.
Okay, fair enough. So basically, what is the way to solve a problem? Like in the first few initial days, there are two ways for, according to me, there are two ways. Like I would take up the whole day and think of the problem, like how to solve that problem. Okay, I would sit with that problem the whole day. And the next is that I would try to use many solutions. Like I would try to see the editorials, like what is the correct way. Like many people say that if I'm seeing the editorial, what is the use of solving the problem? Many people have this doubt. I too had this doubt. Like if I'm solving 50, 10, 15 problems and still I need to see the editorial every point of time, then what am I learning? So
So
what's your take on this?
when you have started learning something, then you will have to see editorials to learn how you have to solve a particular problem, because it doesn't come naturally to you. Like if there is a two pointer problem and you started solving that question, that two pointer will be applicable here if you haven't heard about it before, right? So you need to read up editorials, you need to understand what are the different approaches which can be used here. And once you are familiar with the number of things, after solving 5 10 questions, you know like हाँ यहाँ पे हमें hash map use करना है, यहाँ पे हमें two pointer use करना है, यहाँ पे हमें binary search use करना है, or things like that. You get to understand where you have to use some which algorithm or which data structure, or like you understand, right? So after that, you start solving problems, then you don't have to read the editorials that much. Like once in a while there will be a case that you have tried your best and you are still not able to understand the solution, then you have to read the editorial. And even if you are able to solve the problem, you should read the editorial, because there are multiple approaches that can be used there. And if you don't read the editorial, you will never be able to know about those, and you'll still miss out on something which can be useful for you.
Okay. So moving forward, like now he knows how to solve a problem. And he has started solving 5 problems a day at this point of time. So the next point is that after solving 15 to 20 problems, he would come across stack queues. And he would be able to surpass it because of the famous questions. Like stack for me is the trickiest one. Like it seems simple, but in the first instance where you are a beginner, stack is a data structure that you need to master to ace in any either of the interviews or be it online contest. So what's your take? How to learn about stack? Like arrays and all can be learned. Like what about stacks? What is your way?
So sometimes you will not even realize that this is a stack question. Like this happens with a lot of people, but uh, you will have to get used to it. Like if someone wants, there are multiple stack questions if you have heard of, like uh, the rain trap problem there is that we use stack for. Apart from that, the last in I am not remembering the names, but there are a few problems which you just know these are for stacks. But to know about them, you will have to solve a number of problems before. And once you get the approach, then you automatically realize that in this problem you will have to use stack.
Okay, so what are your personal favorites on stack data structure? Like any questions from your side?
Just give me a minute, I'll tell you.
Sure. Okay, so basically, so still I would just interact with the audience. So people out there, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have a roadmap. Okay, so I'm trying to ask the queries where I stumbled upon. Okay, and you can also ask like how to do at this point of time, like the doubt you are currently having, or you think that this doubt would arise. So I'm trying to ask the points that I stumbled, but still you can ask yours too, and I would ask them and then move forward. Okay, so any personal
So
favorites? What do you think?
yeah, so the stock span problem, there was the next greatest
Yeah,
element, the next smallest element. These type of problems, the next smallest, next greatest. Once you solve one, you will understand. You will remember that, if something like this comes up, you have to use stack, and this is the best
yeah,
approach there could be. So these are the some of the personal favorite problems. Apart from that, the parenthesis problem that you have, that is
yeah.
also one of my personal favorites.
Parenthesis balancing one.
Yeah, balancing parenthesis.
Yeah. So balancing parenthesis is a question which you, if you don't know stacks, then this problem would seem like, what is this problem all about? How would I go?
Right,
How would I take the last backtracked one?
right.
Okay. So moving forward, we move for after stack, we move forward to queue. Queue has simple problems and it can be solved, and it can be seen that yes, the like queue specific problems are very less. Then the next thing that we stumble upon the most, like I wasted a lot of time, or I can say that I invested a lot of time in this, is recursion. So what do you think? What's your take on recursion? How should we learn it?
I really love recursion, honestly, because if you are able to solve a problem recursively, most of your problems are already done. Like, you are able to solve DP problems, you are able to solve graph problems, tree problems, linked list problems, and all of them have recursive solutions for sure. Most of the problems do have a recursive solution. So if you are able to understand how to make that recursive call, how actually recursion works, then all these data structures don't feel that difficult to you. But if you are bad at recursion, DP would be a nightmare for you. You will not be able to solve DP problems. Graph would be a nightmare because DFS, BFS, then all the graph algorithms are based on recursion backtracking. So these topics will be very, very, very difficult. So for learning recursion, start from the basic. Start from why we are doing this, how we are doing this, what are the different steps in recursion, how do you make the n 2 raised to power n recursive uh, relation. Then you can, how do you solve other sum problems with recursion. Try to solve the basic problems with recursion, then move to medium ones. Then you can like try the hard problems like the Sudoku solver problem or the n queens problem or the knights problem. All these can be solved afterwards once you have the hang of it, how you'll be able to make the recursive relation.
Okay. So, like, I would tell you my scenario, like, where I was depressed at that point of time. When I started off, the first problem I solved was printing the numbers from the back, 1 to 10 and then 10 to 1. The first problem. Then I came forward and I learned about N Queen's problem, the maze problem, and the Sudoku solving problem. After that, I saw the problem of sort a stack, and it was not intuitive. After that, I was not able to find good problems on recursion. Like, recursion problems are a little bit way less than other data structure problems, I think so. So what do you recommend? Like, we should stick to solving recursion problems to master it, or we should shift to learning some other things so that the recursion would get a good foundation? Like, how to strengthen the foundation of recursion so that we can move forward to trees or dynamic programming. Both of them require a major amount of recursion. What do you think that how can we move forward from this point after solving
So
these all problems?
so you must have solved the arrays and string problems. They also have recursive solutions to them. So once if you have solved a easy problem in of arrays or strings, try to solve the same with recursion. If you are able to find a solution for the same with recursion, if it is possible, not like for every solution you should try and make it in recursion, but if you can think of a solution for a basic uh, a string or array problem, you should definitely try it out. And after that, start learning about linked list, because linked list also has a lot of recursive solutions, and recursive solutions are at times much easier than the iterative ones in linked list. Once you master that, it will be easier for you to go to graphs or trees, because it's a flattened tree sort of a structure. A linked list is a flattened tree, like you just have no left or right, you just have a straight node attached to it, right? So if you are able to visualize that, if you are able to solve that recursively, it will be easier for you to think in terms of trees, in terms of binary tree or binary search trees. So if you are able to master your basic array and string problems, easy ones, then you should go to linked list and try practicing them.
Okay, so the first one, like when we start off, recursive solutions are seem very easy, but they are very hard to crack in the first scenario when you are learning about recursion. So how to know that this problem can be solved using recursion? Why? Because back in time when we were 2 3 years ago, like when we were in college, we like I'm still in college. So basically, we had the time, like we had the time to explore like what all problems can be done. But nowadays the people should be well equipped, like the level of DSA should be good enough. Then they should also focus on projects too. So they can't afford to go out and try each and every problem like which can be solved using recursion. So how to segregate those problems that yes they can be solved using recursion? And the very next query would be like how to find the editorial in recursion, like how to do that. Can you tell me, like what do you think?
So if you want to just find an editorial and recursion, then the easy part would be just go to GFG and like add the tag of recursion, because all of them which have a solution in recursion will have a tag of recursion there, and you will be able to find the editorial for the same if you are writing the right recursive relation or not, and if your solution is correct or not, even if it is passing test case somehow. So that is one thing which you can do if you want editorial there. Otherwise, the if you just want to know if this particular problem has a recursive solution or not, you should try to think if this can be broken into smaller pieces or not, if a smaller part of code can solve this particular problem. If that is the case, then it can be solved with recursion. Like we have learned about like getting the sum of an array, right? So what do you need to get the sum of an array? You need the sum of the n minus 1th part of the array, and you just need to add the last to it. So you can get the sum of the whole array. So this is recursion. If your problem can be solved in a smaller part and just by just doing something from your end, so you are able to solve that problem recursively. So when you are solving any problem, just think about this, that if doing anything small on your part can solve the bigger problem, then this can be solved in using recursion.
Okay. So the what I did was like I was not able, like I had the suggestion, and I was not able to segregate the problems. To be honest, like then I had a comment. I still remember that if you want, like someone did a blog that I need more problems on recursion. There are way less problems on recursion. So a senior coder, or we say that a grandmaster is a senior coder. So he commented that solve problems on dynamic programming. Then what I did was I started solving easy problems from Geeks for Geeks. Why? Because the first solution from Geeks for Geeks is the recursive one. Like I started learning about
Right.
DP. I like the frog jump problem. If you talk about like the knapsack problem, like the first solution contains, like if you see the editorial, the first solution would contain the recursive one. So I found an editorial to that. I was able to see if I implemented it correctly or not. Why? Because if I submitted it and it failed on the number of test cases more than two or three, I realized that yes, my code is running fine for this. So I think new folks can try this too.
Right,
And then
right,
after this point
definitely.
of time, yeah. So at this point of time, we started off with the syntax of a language. Like we started off choosing a language, then we learned about syntax. We came a bit way. Like we have covered 30%. I think so. So the very next one is like how frequently should you revise the topics? Like BV Nandan is also asking this. So what's your take on this? Should we revise the things or how to revise? What would be your take on this?
We should definitely revise everything once in a while, like after 2 3 weeks, because all these things, all the concepts which you have learned, if you are not like implementing them again, they'll be, you'll miss out on something for sure. Like the some of the algorithms are not that intuitive, but they are used a lot. So you'll have to understand why this is happening, how this is happening, and you need to revise for some time. Then you'll just have that in your mind, ki how to solve this algorithm, or how to proceed with this algorithm.
Yeah. So what I think is that you have learned the topic. The most easiest way to have a parallel revise thing and your learning too would be to start giving contests. Like you already know recursion till this point. So you can start giving contests so that the random thing would teach you and the upsolving thing would either help you to revise or it would make you learn something new. At this point of time, you can start giving contests out there, be it on any platform. What's like, you agree to this, or you what you think like
Exactly,
for this?
exactly. I agree with this. Like once you have learned about the basic data structures, if you have learned about stacks, queues, strings, and arrays, then you should start giving contests. You'll be able to solve the first 2 3 problems easily. Like if there are 5 problems for say, or 4 problems in the contest, you'll be able to solve the first one, or first and second, with the basic knowledge of about all these topics. And then you can start learning about the other data structures and things, and you will be able to revise all those concepts when you are able to solve the third problem. Then you have mastered some of the other data structures as well. You have moved forward to dp, or you have moved forward to graphs. But in the first and the second question, they will still ask you the basic data structures, and you'll not be out of the loop.
Okay. So at this point of time, when we start encountering the TLE thing in recursion, or like we need to learn about the cadence algorithm. Let's take a very simple example, or the prefix sum. Like we are given offline queries and prefix sum, running sum, and all. So we find that at this point of time, we should start to think about how to optimize your code. So like Nitin Kumar Gaur is also having this. So how to move forward with this?
Optimizing code problem, so you are not able to understand how to optimize a problem, that is the question.
Yeah, yeah. So like
Okay.
how to move forward with like when should we know, like yes, at this point of time perfect sum is required. At this point of time we need a running sum. We don't need an auxiliary array. When should we use two pointers? What do you think? Like what's your take on
So
this?
if you are able to solve the problem in complexity plus one of anything, like if the question wants you to solve it in n cube, and but you are solving it in n raised to 4, that means you need to use any of these things which will reduce the time complexity by 1, right? So for example, two pointer is used when you are solving something in n square or n cube, and you have to solve it in order of n or order of n square. That will reduce your time complexity from twice to once, because you don't have to use two loops, you'll just use one instead of that. So at these places you'll understand like when you have to optimize the code. So if your solution is passing, but it is failing for larger test cases, that means your code complexity is a bit more than what is required. That is the time when you need to use all these optimizing techniques, whether it be your two pointer approach or your prefix sum or things like that.
Okay, fair enough. So now we have started solving problems over recursion. And the very next thing is that we would move forward with linked list if you are into DSA. Else, you would move forward with trees or graph if you are into competitive program. These are the two trajectories that people generally follow. So at this point of time, he is introduced to the concept of contest. So, what do you think? Like, how much time we need to give for a separate data structure concept and problems? Like, he needs to have a parallel thing, like he's doing up solving. He is doing an internship if he is a dev guy, or he is having his offline college. Like, we don't have that online thing now, most of us. So, how much knowledge is enough to enter into a contest? Like, this is the
As
query.
Siddharth and I discussed, right, that if you understand the basics about all these topics like arrays, strings, linked list, stacks, queues, then you should start giving contest after that. Like there will be problems of trees and graphs which you will not be able to solve, but you will have the understanding to solve first two problems or first three problems out of the four or five problems. Like you will be able to solve the 50% of the problems, and if you are able to do that, that means you are on the right way, you are on the right path. And after that, when you start learning about the other data structures, like trees, you will be able to solve more problems after you start learning about graphs. As soon as you encounter any problem which needs one of these, you should go ahead and start learning about it.
Okay. So the very next one. Okay. So I would tell you the first, I would explain you the scenario. Like people, like I belong from a tier three college, which is a small private college in Kolkata. But people think that I am from your college, Netaji Subhash Institute of Technology, because it has the same name. Like my college name is Netaji Subhash Engineering College. Okay. But it's a small tier three. So what happened was I was introduced with the concept of CP. But I found my seniors that they were extensively doing development and they were promoting development, like the boot camps and all they do promote, and the webinars and all they do have offline webinars also. So they started promoting it. Okay, and still the tier three colleges still have that culture, like dev is more preferred in the first 2 years. Like the tier one, they have a separate group, like the group is segregated. But still, there are many colleges where student chapter of be it either Code Chef or be it either Geeks for Geeks has not opened yet. Like many colleges has not been. So still there is a culture of development. So what do you think? Like what is your take on this? Like person who is in first or second year of college, he wants to learn programming. Should we start with DSA or should we start with development? At which point of time should he start?
So, in my opinion, what I did was I started with DSA first, and that helped me out because when you learn development, you need some concepts about DSA also. Like you will need them to optimize your code, to optimize your solution, and to know what exactly is happening where. So, before starting development, you should have a basic understanding of data structures, ki which data structure you have to use when. Like if you are making any app or if you are making any website and you need to use a data structure or use something which will help you get the lowest number or lowest profile or something like that, and you need to get keep that thing sorted as at the same time. So you will not be knowing about sets, you will not be knowing about hash maps at that point of time, and you will try to solve that problem by making a brute force solution, or right, and that would take a lot of time. So for that, if you have a basic understanding of all these concepts, if you know when to use hash maps or when to use sets, this problem would be very easy for you to solve. So development does need DSA, it does need the basic understanding of algorithms. So that's why I would recommend learning DSA before development.
Yeah, like I would just give you a like I would try to add one more example to it. Like when we start development, like if you are not well acquainted with this optimization, time complexity and all, and you have started doing development. So and I did that too. To be honest, like I started with development first. Then what happened was we don't really understand the importance of like why should we call this function again and again. Like we can just save it in a variable and we can use it, so we don't understand that like every time you I don't didn't have the knowledge, so I started calling that function again and again. So that was an inefficient approach. The
Right.
next thing is that like we are suppose in the first or second year, In the first or second year, we are introduced with the concept of programming in C. Did you have that subject? Like I
Yeah,
had this.
I also had.
So we are introduced. So oops is not the very first chapter we encounter, and we start learning about the DSA thing. So in the first instance, when we are learning about DSA, how much oops do we really require, and at what point of time we require it? What do you think? What's your take on this?
Actually, when you start learning DSA, oops is not that much required. Once you are at a stage when you have to implement linked list, or when you have to implement stacks, then is the time that you need oops actually. Like what is happening inside the pop function, what is happening inside the push function. So these are the things which you should know, but you should not, the user shouldn't know, right? So encapsulation, abstraction, all these concepts come after that, and that is the time when you should learn about oops. So when you are starting with DSA, when you are starting with C++, it's not required to learn oops for sure. At a stage when you have to make your own classes, make your own functions, and you have to inherit things, you have to learn about inheritance and uh, object oriented programming in general, then is the time to learn oops in C++.
So, so we heard this thing a lot. Okay, like maths is important to learn DSA. Like when I stepped into competitive programming, I saw that people who generally were good with mathematics, they were able to ace this competitive programming thing. Like you agree to this or not?
Honestly, for DSA, maths is not that important. There are only a
Yeah.
few things which are there which for which you need maths. That is the number theory thing. You need a bit of maths, like permutation combination problems. There you need maths. But apart from that, there are not many problems where you will be requiring maths. Apart from knowing the time complexity for a solution, if you want to calculate time complexity, or if you want to calculate space complexity, then a bit of maths is required. Apart from that, there's no place where maths is required that much. If you're solving a stack problem, I don't think so you'll require maths in that. If you're solving a tree problem, you will not require difficult maths, you'll require basic maths everywhere, like plus minus divide multiplication, and you know about all that for sure. But proper, like the maths we learned in 11th or 12th, you don't require that level of maths for sure.
Okay. So I think that people link this mathematics. Like I came a little bit in DSA. Like I at this point of time think that people link up mathematics with this DSA and this competitive programming thing, because in mathematics we are provided with a set of formulas and we tend to use it in different ways. Like we have the general integration formulas and we tend to use it in very different ways, like we bend the solution, bend the formulas and all. And in the same manner, I think the trajectory of learning DSA is also the same. Like we have a set of data structures and algorithms. A person can quickly just learn it or like can mug it up in a span of 5 to 10 days, but he won't be able to do DSA. Like the trajectory is somewhat similar to having learning about mathematics. What do you think on this?
I agree with you, that is the case, because it's about knowing the formulas, it's about knowing the data structures and then trying to use them wherever they are needed. So in that way it's linked to mathematics, but you don't need to know maths to use this. Like
Okay, so we were focusing on young coders. So after the person has aced recursion, then he would be learning to then he would start learning about trees linked list. After that, he won't be a beginner. Okay, so let's cater the doubt at this point of time. Like he might encounter, like he should start learning about the technology. Like you told that you shouldn't start, like someone is following your roadmap and now he is confused that when should I start development. Okay, so what do you think, that is it the right time, and if it is the right time, like how to balance between both, like what do you think?
so, I honestly started development in my second year, like because in your third year you start applying. at the end of your second year, you start applying for internships, and you need some projects for that, right? You need to crack the coding tests, as well as you need a resume in which you have projects. So after learning the basics about the data structures and getting to this stage, you should start learning about any of the development fields which you want, either it be Android web or cross platform or anything, whatever you like. And managing time would be like, if you can give 1 or 2 hours a day to DSA, then weekends pay you can learn about development. Like you can give 4 or 5 hours a day to development, to learning a technology, and just give contests on weekends and not learn DSA at that time, and just learn about DSA or solve problems during the week. So this is something which you can do, and it totally depends on the person who is learning, how they want to uh, give time to both the things. If they want to just get done with DSA first and just give contest for the next 5 6 months, and apart from giving contest, learn about, or like learn development, that is one way to go. Or just learn both of them side by side by dividing the time between both of them.
So now I think we have came a long way, where we started off like we should, what language should we select, and then we tried to cover like any more constraints that you think should be explained, like from your side, any more
So
constraints.
you will get demotivated at times, for sure. Like when you are giving contest, it is possible that you are not able to solve more than two problems, or you are not able to solve even one problem, because you don't know the concept, or you are not able to crack that solution at that particular point of time. But you should not get disheartened with that, because you are just trying to practice or trying to learn something which is difficult, for sure. It's not easy. If it was easy, then everyone would have done this. Everyone would have scored 100 out of 100, or got a job at the place which they wanted to, or be top rank one, right? It is difficult, for sure. But if you have confidence in yourself, if you know you can do it, then you can do it. If you'll think यार मेरे से तो नहीं होगा, तो नहीं होगा मतलब. But if you think you can do it, then you will make it possible for yourself. So just don't lose hope. Keep on trying, and just don't get stuck at a point कि यार ये नहीं हो रहा है तो इससे आगे कैसे होगा. Just try to overcome that phase, and you will see that how this has helped you out after some time.
Like to be honest, when I started off at the point where I got demotivated, like everyone has that point when he has that low motivation kind of thing. So I was like, it was lockdown, I didn't have friends and all. So my mother said the same thing, like अगर इतना इजी होता तो सब जॉब नहीं कर रहे होते, सब बैठ के कोड नहीं कर रहे होते, कोडिंग टफ है तभी तो है. So like I had this on my mind, like this is not going to be easy, like you need to accept that, and you need to just have. So what are the steps to solve the coding problems? I think we have already covered this. Okay, so so like what is the threshold, like after that point of time you shouldn't touch DSA? Like suppose like this is for young coders, so it might be a scenario that the young coder out there or a newbie out there is in his third year or fourth year. Okay, so what do you recommend him to do at that point of time? Is the roadmap same or is it different?
If you have learned about DSA, I will not ask you to stop giving contest, for sure, at any point of time, because that will just help you out whenever you are preparing for placements, or whenever you are preparing to switch your jobs. If you have time, if you have a consistency maintained, that you are giving contest for the last 50 weeks or 60 weeks, so it's like there's no point of not doing it if you are placed, or if you have got an internship or placement, because starting it again would be difficult, but continuing that streak would not be that difficult. Like giving out 1.5 hours a week is easy than restarting it again, like learning, revising all those topics again after chilling for a year. So just don't stop at any point of time. Keep on practicing, but you don't have to give like 6 7 hours a day to learn DSA now. You are at a comfortable position. You just need to give a few contests a week, like 1 or 2 contests a week are good to go for you, because you are able to revise those concepts at that point of time. So just don't stop, keep on practicing, but yeah, don't
So
overdo it.
So I think that the last question from my side, okay, like not from my side, like many people have this. Suppose a person who has enjoyed his first 2 years or first 3 years, he has literally enjoyed a lot. He has bunked a lot of classes, like he has mucked up his semester examinations. He didn't touch coding. He never had the concept of lead code or geeks for gigs or code forces, and now, or he is very much into development, like now he needs desperately needs a job. For that he needs to learn DSA. So what would be the last minute roadmap, the last one, like what would be the last lap, how should it be?
So for that, I would recommend just learn all the concepts first, like learn about all the data structures in one go, and then start practicing the most asked interview questions, like the 150 list, 160 list that you have on all the platforms. That is the most important thing you need to do, because after solving all those problems, you will be familiar with the data structures, you will be familiar with the algorithms that are used to solve more problems. Once you are comfortable with all this, then start giving contests, start trying out more difficult and hard level problems, and in like 4 or 5 months you will be like at a very good level. So learning all this will at least require 3 4 months for you, from scratch, from learning about a language to learning about the dp or graphs. So just keep on doing it, but yeah, take out those 150 160 problems, and that is the benchmark for you, that if you are able to solve all these problems, then you can move to the next step.
So I think this one is already told that yes, DSA is required in full stack or front end. Then we move forward to the conclusion. Do you have anything to add from your side? Anything more
So
to
that,
add?
yeah, we just talked about all the possible things. Just don't lose hope and keep on practicing, keep on coding. Just believe in yourself. That is the most important thing, that you can do it. And if you think that, then you will be able to do it. So that is the last thought.
Okay. So a last comment from the audience side. So there was an appreciation which I bookmarked it. So you are an inspiration
Thank you so
for
much.
many people. Like you, like personally, I follow you on Instagram. Like I have seen you, and like for me, you are that optimal kind of person who is well balanced with his life. Like you are into fitness, you regularly go gym, okay, and then you also have an influencer life, you are also into teaching, and then you are a full-time employee, and still you do outing with your friends and all. You have a smiling face every time. Like, trust me, I think that you have the mental peace in spite of working most of the time. Like you are a person who is able to optimize his or her time the most optimal way. I think so. Like the time complexity thing or the AC thing in life, you have mastered it. Like in life you have
Thank you so
mastered,
much.
like many people, like after coming from college, like I like people like offline college, like so now I'm an intern and doing offline internship. So
Hmm.
what happens is when I come back from office, I literally, like I think that I should just now go to bed. I shouldn't, like many a days I skip gym, like I skip the workouts, like sometimes I rush and I'm not able to optimize it. But still, you are able, like you are the person who is a complete, like you have a mental peace, like you are balancing your life to the most optimal way. Okay,
Thank you.
so all in one pack, Nishan bhaiya, yeah, absolutely. So the last note from my side, it was absolutely a pleasure doing a webinar with you. Like it's a dream come true, to be honest. Like for a person who just has like, yes, I follow this person, and this person is an get to talk with him personally in a public platform. It's indeed a dream come true to me.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Thanks a lot.
Nice talking to you, yaar. You are also an inspiration for a lot of people. You have done wonders in competitive programming, and if you don't know, he's a candidate master on Code Forces. So you should follow him if you are not following him. And whatever tips he gave you during the whole conversation, you should have listened to them if you have not listened to it, because those are actual things which you should implement when you are learning DSA. Because he's someone who has come from a tier 3 background, who had no one to tell him what to do, and he figured it out like all of that on his own. And he's currently in his final year, right? And he's
Yes.
like working as a software engineering intern at Geeks for Geeks from a tier 3 college. So he's the actual inspiration. So you should have listened, or you
Like
can just rewatch the live stream for sure.
like I should be more happy that you know me. Like in knowing, like you know me, that's the pleasure. Like I can't explain my happiness at the moment. So I don't think anymore like the queries at the moment are very relevant. Like they are the similar ones. Like we have already talked about the importance of a language, at what point of time DSA is required, how to learn each and every one, like stack, recursion, and all. So I think that we can rest at this point, or we are good to go. Anything to add more, Nishant?
No, I think we can end this now.
Okay, so okay. Thank you, Nishant. So that was all from my side. So we had a great time talking to each other, and okay. So I hope that you would join us. Thank you, everyone, and make sure you comment and like the video on the recorded version, so that the reach of this video could be increased. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Bye.